Why would she change in that dynamic? This is the dynamic that I liked. I didn't want to be with anybody who behaved any other way than this girl was behaving with me when I took her to Phuket. I would wake up in the morning, everything was up to me in terms of the hotel situation, everything was up to me where we went to eat, everything was up to me what we did that day. Would we swim in the pool or would we go to the beach? It was up to me where we went to eat in the evening, and it was up to me what happened in the hotel that evening. Every single thing was up to me, and she went along with it, smiling and happy and gracious. I thought I knew what this was, and I know what you're going to say. You were helping her monetarily in this sense. Yes, so if I'm helping, for example, my wife in the same sense for 5 years, perhaps she doesn't love me. I don't need to have that love, I just need the respect in return. So why is it that the more you stay with someone, the more you give to someone, the nicer you do to someone, the better you make their life, yet from the moment of meeting them until when things inevitably go wrong, everything that they do gets worse? That's one of the biggest things that I can't really get my head around. It doesn't make any sense to me because I'm not saying that I fell in love with her so much and I thought she loved me so much, and she didn't love me like I thought she did. I'm not saying anything of the sort. I'm saying that why is it that on that first week in Phuket, she was exactly the sort of person that I could see myself spending the rest of my life with. She was everything that I wanted. No love, never mind. Affection, of course, that's important. Respect, very important. But it seemed only logical, maybe my mind is too logical, but if this is what I want here and now, and what you want is financial support, so when my financial support increases and gets more and more and more, your attitude gets worse and worse and worse. That's basically what I'm saying happened, and it didn't make sense. But I didn't know her attitude was going to get worse and worse. Because if I did, I would have listened to my friend when I told him, after she'd stayed with me for another 3 months at my place in Pattaya, that I was getting married to her. I'd have listened to him when he said, "Don't be an idiot. If you marry her, things are going to end up extremely bad for you. You're an idiot, don't do it." He swore at me, told me not to do it. But I ignored him thinking I knew what I was doing, but I didn't. I just thought what I had with her in Phuket was what I would have with her forever. Why wouldn't I think that? Because I continued to provide more and more and do nicer and nicer. Why wasn't she willing to do the same? Even though my friend gave me all that advice, he still went up to my girlfriend's village with us when I got married because although he'd been in Thailand for such a long time, he'd never been to a village in Isan before. He took one of his girlfriends with him, and it happened that the same city that she was from was the one that my girlfriend was from. And she actually tried to ask him, "Can we go and have a look there? Maybe we can get married." And he just sort of looked at her and said, "No chance," laughing at the same time, but yeah, he didn't want to do that and he knew what he was doing. My friend was a sight though, and I'm sorry to keep talking about my friend so much, but he was looking at everything going on like, "Damn it, man, you're insane to be going through with something like this." He's being respectful to everyone and he's not saying anything wrong, but he'd heard people who had been married and things hadn't gone well. What happened to the girl that I took to Phuket that was everything I wanted? That night we returned home and I went out for a few drinks, went to meet up with my friend and told him about it. He didn't say anything to me. When I said the same thing again, he just started talking about something else. Then I asked him again and said, "Why aren't you saying anything? I told you not to get married to somebody because it doesn't stay the same. I told you, you didn't listen to me, so it's useless saying anything." And then I suppose I thought, well, never mind, it's a one-off incident and she'll be okay soon, which she was. But the thing that made it worse was the following morning, when she's making some breakfast for us and I call her over and say, "Well, let's forget about yesterday." She was affectionate and, behaving like a wife who receives an allowance should behave. And I said, "Well, after we've had breakfast, I think we can maybe, relax for a few hours and then let's go out. Let's go and have some drinks and go for a meal in the evening." This wasn't uncommon. It's something that we always did together. But that day she just said, "I no feeling go out. I no want go, you go yourself." "What do you mean you don't want to go out?" "I want to stay room, I no want go." If I wasn't her husband, if I wasn't supporting her financially, if I wasn't providing her with a nicer place to live that she was living in before, if I wasn't providing her with a car to drive that she didn't have before, If I was just a guy that met her in a bar, that was no way she would have said, I don't want to do that. She would have done it anyway. So why am I giving more and getting less? And again, I'm thinking it's just a one-off incident, never mind. But what happened to my wife in the sense of the person that I met? It wasn't meant to be a traditional relationship. It was meant to be, you get your allowance in turn for doing what I want. What's difficult? My friend did warn me that it works like that when you just meet them. It works like that when you spend a few weeks with them. But the longer you spend with them, the more comfortable they get, and they get worse. They want more for less. I not want go. I change mind, I no go. You go your friend. The thing was, though, I forced it. I said, no, it's planned, we have to do it. It's not acceptable, you have to go with me. So reluctantly she did, and she sulked all night. She goes up and goes to the bathroom with my friend's girlfriend, a new girlfriend that he met a few days ago. And he's just laughing at me, saying, this one I've got, exactly like I want it to be. If it doesn't work, never mind, move on. Telling about how over time they get too complacent, too comfortable. And he's not laughing at me like he's laughing out loud like ha ha ha. It's like, mate, I told you. And then he referenced her new phone and bad, like how much did that cost? And they say something a bit crude about his girl and how much support he was giving her. And I'm like, me, I may have bitten off more than I can chew here because I'm not getting what I want. And while I haven't lost a lot of money yet, instead of perhaps throwing in the towel and trying to take a page out of my friend's book, I keep doubling down and thinking eventually she's going to come to her senses. Eventually she's going to return to normal. Eventually some form of equilibrium is going to form and things are going to be great for me again. I just kept hoping and holding out for things to go back to the way they were because that's all I wanted. That girl in Phuket. And after getting married, it sort of died down and she put in a lot less effort. And she continued to continuously put in less effort on a daily basis. Much about it apart from seeing the fee list, and I agreed to pay 150,000 baht to start with, and then I would pay the installments for the next 3 years, and I was happy to do that. Of course, I was hoping for something in return, but the fact that literally only 2 weeks after starting, she quit, saying that she didn't like it. Headache, she said. I headache. I listen teacher, I headache, I no can do. The fact I just spent 150,000 for that, she hadn't changed herself because of this extra money, and she quit, and I've lost that money. Didn't matter to her at all, and I'm thinking that 150,000 baht, I could have gone to a reasonable resort with a different girl maybe 5 times, who would have given me better, given me more of what I wanted. What my wife was meant to be giving me, like she used to do, but she's not, and again, more wasted money. My marriage with her lasted for another 8 months after this university thing. I was just throwing more money into it, money after money after money. I'm doubling down, I'm trying my absolute best to make her happy so that she can be the girl that I met, because that's all I want her to be. I guess after the university, I probably lost a total of another 600,000 baht on everything that I gave to her, on top of her 22,000 a month allowance. And I guess that was in total, nearly 40,000 pounds in total I lost over just a year, being married to someone who I had a better time with for the equivalent of a cheap steak dinner the first night I met her. How did I lose about 40,000 baht having a worse time with someone? I couldn't understand it, and I started to really hate the fact that I went to Thailand in the first place. I'm still regularly seeing my friend, and he's looking at me every time we meet like, I tried to tell you. He's not saying it anymore because he knows that I'm quite hurt about it. But he had the right idea all along because he just understood that while you can take the girl out of a bar, you can't take the bar out of the girl in the sense that she will always want to be given things. She will always want that money for being a girl, for being like that. But complacency and comfort set in. And you might marry someone and think you're doing nicer to them, you're giving more to them, but in return, you're getting less. You might not be able to compute it because I still can't compute it. But I really felt like I had it with Thailand altogether because I didn't want to be someone who had many different relationships with many different people. Although, if I'd done that, I'd have spent less money and had a better time and no stress.